Hello there. Thank you for checking out this R&R Ask the Expert. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Dan Casero. He is the CEO of Core Group, but he has been in the industry for quite some time. Core Group was started in 2018, but prior to that, he worked for companies that I'm sure many of you have heard of, including NextGear and DKI and some others. So I am going to waste no more time. I'm going to toss it right over to Dan. Dan, thank you so much for joining me. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Core Group.
Thank you for having me. I am obviously the CEO of Core Group. Core Group is the newest and probably fastest growing contractor network in the industry. We're made up of a couple different channels. We have a business called Encore, which is a hybrid managed repair business, which is most people refer to as a TPA. So a hybrid TPA. We also have a very fast growing membership business called Core Elite. And we've just launched, it's officially in about 30 days, we'll be launching officially Core Main Street, which is our new traditional franchise model, all wrapped around sort of the premise of the Core vision.
Ah, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so what inspired you to start Core? What is the Core vision as you just referred to?
Well, our core value, no, I'm just kidding. I won't go down to core values. No, honestly, my history in the industry. So I started out as a contractor. I worked for a contractor. My brother was with that company for 10, 15 years. Sort of got into this industry thinking I would only be here for 90 days. I tell that story all the time. Ended up being 20 years and still and counting. It's been a love and hate relationship. There's been times where I've hated the industry because of the challenges it faces. There have been times where I go, I don't see why I haven't been doing this longer. What I do know is that there was a moment. I was CEO of a large national brand called DKI. Sold off their TPA to Sedgwick back in 2016. Then went and started another TPA for Cunningham Lindsay, and realized that TPAs as they're designed serve a purpose, and the purpose is not necessarily the contractor. And so there was a moment I was at the Strictly TPAs conference that RIA had hosted, and I remember having this moment where I went, you know what, someone's got to be honest about what's really going on, which is these systems are not designed for contractors, but they don't have to be that way. We can find that happy medium. And so it was interesting because it was like I found this sort of re-energized purpose for why I needed to do something different. And so I decided to launch Core. So I immediately set out to find, partners and build the right team, but more importantly, surround it with contractors who were, yes, tired of the way things are going today, but also understood that the way things are going today are not designed for them. And we have to be honest about that, because a lot of contractors want to point fingers at TPAs, and they want to get mad at the carrier, and they want to blame everybody but themselves. But what they don't realize is that contractors are the reason that these systems were built to begin with, because unfortunately, I'll speak for the industry a little bit when I say that, someone had to hold us accountable, and there are some contractors that had to be held accountable. And unfortunately, the good contractors are now left with this thing that we've built. Sorry, that was more than why I started Core, but it's what I'm clearly passionate about. So I'm going to start telling you everything about the industry that's wrong. That's number one. Now number two. So yeah, I mean, that's what made me motivated to start Core. And I really felt like someone had to fix it. And it's not me that's fixing it today at all. Actually, it's the contractors, and it's this team, and it's this growing organization that we're building that's growing very quickly and super exciting. And it's nice to be able to go, okay, yeah, other people want to see this happen too. This is great. So yeah, it's been a really cool ride so far.
Awesome. Okay, so along those lines of third-party administrators, and there's kind of been this ebb and flow of people not being happy, and how do we find this middle playing field something. So I know that some contractors do see the good and some contractors don't. Yeah. So what do you tell contractors who are totally skeptical of being part of a network or part of a program at this point?
Yeah, and we get those obviously every day. That's a really good question, actually. Initially, people joined Core immediately with the premise of that, hey, we're building something different. So when we immediately went to market and said, we're building something different, join us. We'd love for you to join us. And mind you, there is a credentialing process, so they have to be approved. It's not like we just let anyone in. And I said, and this is before we launched our membership. It was just the TPA, managed repair piece. And I said, just join us and see what you think. And so people joined, but the one caveat was that it's not going to happen overnight. Because you have to remember, we're building something here that has to be shifted on both sides of the fence. Like I have to be able to get a sales team to go to the market, to a carrier, and explain to them why this is different than everyone else who's soliciting them today. And that's still happening every day. We will go to carriers who will assume that we are walking in with the same sales pitch that everyone else is, when in reality, we have to go, whoa, hold on. This is what Core is all about, and this is why we built this. So that paradigm shift takes time. And so what's interesting is initially it was really easy. The contractor group grew quickly. We then started getting some national clients, which helped. And the good thing is those national clients understood that what we were building was different. So it wasn't about just cost savings. It was about get the job done, get it done efficiently, get it done right, and satisfy the policyholder, because they're at the end of the day, they're the customer. I mean, if you think about it, we're all serving them, not each other. And so so those jobs have gone well, and we've had a really good outcome with those jobs. But then you've had a few of those contractors that are in markets where we're not yet getting traction because we haven't secured the big whales, which again are a lot harder to move than the ones that are, can see things in sort of an innovative way. And they're upset because they think that we are like others and we've just signed them up for something that they're not going to, get anything from. So we're refunding people. We're saying, stay on the program. We'll refund your application fee. That's no problem. But stay on the program because, again, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take time. We're not going anywhere. So it's just a matter of, allow us to build this and build it right. And we'll serve you it once that, opportunity arises.
Okay. So shifting away from the TPA conversation maybe a little bit, what do you think that a post-pandemic restoration industry looks like to you? And I guess, I've been thinking about it the last few days. We're really not post-pandemic. We might not be for a while. We're recording this in midsummer. We could see, a resurge in the fall.
Absolutely.
So I guess, what does the industry look like to you today in a pandemic and beyond?
It's amazing how quickly, though, how that's shifting regularly. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was like, we can breathe. Texas is opening up again. And now we're back on lockdown here in Texas because things are getting out of hand. So you're right. We are in the middle of it now. So I will say that what's beautiful about this industry is that we clean up after this stuff. So what's really neat about it is if you ever had to test whether or not this industry was, recession proof, pandemic proof, good, efficient, great companies are going to survive this without question. If anything, I definitely think companies need to not see this as a capitalization opportunity as much as just a way to really give back. Because quite honestly, I think that's going to really differentiate the companies, the good companies from the bad ones. The ones that do this kind of cleanup are doing a really good job. And almost all of our members, if not all of our members, I think, are actually doing this cleanup, and they're outstanding companies doing really great work. I think that people who are getting into the industry to capitalize on this, not so much. They need to stay in their corner, and make sure that they don't put themselves, in that risk. But I think that post-pandemic, I would say that we, at least at Core, have seen better use of technology, better use of things like 3D assets, better use of things like being the eyes and ears of customers who maybe are not sending adjusters out, not sending inspectors out, homeowners who don't want multiple people in their home. And if the contractor has to come out anyway, because there is a massive water damage and I can't avoid that, why not let them also capture what, be the eyes and ears of the rest of the people who would have been in your home? So we're using some of those things and some of those assets, which is really great. I really think that, the industry will survive this. Obviously, if anything, the industry is thriving, through this. But I think that post-pandemic, I think companies are starting to realize efficiencies, better ways of leveraging, technology and people, and especially here at Core, we just moved our offices right as the pandemic started. So we moved our offices and then sent everybody home. So for literally 2 months, I had, hallways of offices with no one in them. And it was great for me because I got to work by myself and get caught up. But the reality is, and then I realized that, we don't really need, sometimes we realize we don't actually need the kind of space that we think we need. And we may not need to actually collaborate in person, although it's healthy for us to do so. We've been able to leverage technology, and I think that companies who leverage that technology are going to be the ones that really thrive at this time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm hearing a lot more of that as well. So, and I agree on your point of people doing this just for the money. There are so many contractors out there that you see that are making money off of it, but they're also cleaning police cars for free and helping out school districts for free and stuff like that. And that really sets them apart, the ones who are helping their communities. So,
I mean, I think that that clearly there's money to be made, and that's the industry that we're in. I mean, don't get what I just said wrong. I mean, people they need to see this as an opportunity to help people, and yes, they need to be paid. Clearly, but I think that I've been watching kind of some humming on social of contractors who maybe weren't in the cleaning and disinfecting space and all of a sudden are. I think those are the people that probably should not look to capitalize on this. The ones that are trained and certified and do great work and are leveraging things like, SteraMist and other technologies. I think those are the ones that are already in the space, and they should have the opportunity to do a really good job in what they do.
Yes, totally agree. Okay, so one of my last questions here for you is, if you could snap your fingers right now and change one thing about the restoration industry, what would it be?
It has to be just one thing.
All right, Dan, go ahead with your list.
Okay, you want my list? No, honestly, okay, this is the truth. This is the one thing that I will go home at night and I'll say to my wife, gosh, if I could just change this one thing, this is true. Honestly, I think it's the attitude of contractors. I know that's probably who's going to be watching this is contractors, but I will say that, we, and this isn't self-promoting, I mean this sincerely, we launched this business really with the intent of doing one thing. Like, if you ask anyone on my team, like, what's Core's number one mission? We have this thing where we say it's about elevating the industry. So every program we build, we elevate the industry. We negotiate the best rates and Xactware discounts, elevate the industry. We charge some of the lowest rates and referral fees for our Encore program, which means we're not making as much as other managed repair business to elevate the industry. We're doing all these things to elevate the industry. And what we find is a lot of times, and it may be because it's emotional scars, a lot of contractors will have this perception that we're out to screw them. And that's not happening. And it really is so sincere and well-intended what we're doing for the industry that if there was one thing I would change, I would say, be willing to kind of turn the page and have your own paradigm shift, to realize that there are companies out there that are here to actually help you and really care about your growth and success. And it's not, I've literally started a podcast series with all my direct competitors. And why? Not because I want to know what their secret sauce is, but talking about like what keeps you up at night. Because you know what? I'm going to tell you what keeps me up at night. And to have that kind of open, I think that if I'm not talking to the CEOs of major franchise organizations, I can't elevate the industry unless I understand what the whole industry is doing. And so while I clearly care about the Core brand and I want to elevate it on its own, like I think it's important for contractors to understand that we're in a big sandbox here and we have to play nicely together. And sometimes I think that the attitude that comes across to my team or to me is really angry. And I get it, but it's like, come on, guys, like, we're not all out to screw you. That I think if there was one thing, that would probably be it. So that seemed like a lot of things, but
no, it's fair. That's fair. Okay, if people want to check out your podcast, where do they find it?
You can soon, as of July 15th, because we've recorded about 15 episodes, you can actually find it at gowithcore.com. So you'll be able to gowithcore.com / I think it's Elevate is what it's called. It's the Elevate podcast series. And so you'll be able to get it there.
Perfect. Love it. Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we close out here?
No, I don't think so. I'm honored that thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on this. This is awesome.
Well, I appreciate you being here. And I do think that there's a lot going on in the industry right now with TPAs, and then somewhat unrelated, but like Xactware, Xactimate pricing, all of that. I think that there are some evolution happening to where hopefully the landscape can change for contractors and carriers. And
absolutely.
So trying to
That's a whole separate call, though. That's a whole it's a separate call in itself. Yeah.
Touche. Yes. Well, thanks, Dan, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Have a good day.
You too.